All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. We are trying this again with Mr. Joe LaBarbera. It's episode 243. Was supposed to be like I think it was 242 was intended on being, but your host, myself, Bailey Egbrett, screwed up the audio trying to play around with the new microphone, and I am joined here with my good buddy and co-host, Mr. Adam Deacon. What's going on, dude?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm good right now. I hope I sound okay. Unlike the last time where my microphone, I was all high up and happy for this new fancy mic, and I could pick up my fiance's conversation from two rooms over. So I was like,
Mm.
well, that can't happen. So unfortunately, folks didn't get to hear the first rendition of our show with Joe, but Joe was nice enough to sit back down with us, and we're gonna have a good show today.
Heck yeah,
Hopefully,
man.
if he doesn't get sick of us and be like, all right, these guys are losers. Pack our things and run. But no, dude, I'm good. Today I'm just starting to. I just signed off from work and I'm watching. I'm happy to be with you guys talking fishing here, but then also my screen over. I'm watching the weigh-in from Smith Lake for the
Dude,
Bassmaster Open
yeah.
that's going on.
I checked in
Uh,
earlier, man. I have not. I have not. I didn't know the Wayne was going yet.
yeah, right now four fish for 9.25 is leading.
Oh,
I heard that there was a fog delay this morning. I don't know how long that went for, but it sounds like guys had a short day today, and it sounds like things are really, really tough. Like talking with Andrew Upshaw yesterday, he's like, "I'll be lucky to have five fish." Sounds like the same thing's going for a lot of folks that I'm seeing on social media. If they're posting that they're just hoping for a limit, uh, so it might not take a lot of weight to do well in this thing.
grinder.
You ever fish, Smith?
No, never been, man.
We'll have to
You?
ask Joe. We'll have to ask Joe if he's gone down to Smith. Joe, you're in the queue still, but he's shaking his head. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. Uh, dude, a couple things. I guess really just one thing. I don't really have a couple things, but the big thing for me is Hobie BOS for the kayak schedule announced their first five tournaments, and of course it's now like you're all in the excitement of like trying to decide what you're going to do for the next year. So who knows if I'll actually be able to go to these. Uh, because it is pending work. Obviously, we all have jobs here, but uh, Toledo Bend is the first one in February. Let me
Right.
actually pull up a schedule while we're sitting here because we can briefly chat about this.
Yeah, man. I saw the post about it.
Yeah, he posted it on Instagram. Yeah, the first one's Toledo Bend in Louisiana, February 12th to 13th. And I have heard mixed things about it. It's either going to be a smash fest, but then people are like, it's going to be super cold and brutal. But either way, it's going to be early February, and that's like for me, we're going to still have ice, and I'm going to be itching and foaming at the mouth. So I will probably make that 20-hour trek down to Louisiana, link up with my buddy Zach Hall, which is like his home pond, and we'll
Nice.
see what happens. But
Heck
then the
yeah.
next one, let's see, we have Santee Cooper, March 26th and 27th.
That's gonna be sweet, dude.
That's insane, and this is where I'm really bummed. Is I'm bummed, but I'm not bummed because I'm kind of excited for that weekend. Anyways, I'm excited because with my job, I get to go work the Major League Fishing Red Crest, and that's like the first Red Crest Expo. So that'd be kind of cool because it's like the first of its kind. We'll see how that goes. I
Heck
get to
yeah.
work that and go to Grand Lake, be in Oklahoma. Uh, but that's the same weekend as Santee Cooper. So I'm kind of bummed I don't get to fish Santee. But well, obviously we'll get down there eventually. But
Yeah.
the next one is one I plan on going down to, and that is Lake Eufaula on April 23rd and 24th. And that one you're going there in like 2 months,
Yes. In the beginning of
almost to the
December.
day. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
man. I'm
So we'll be
curious.
having some conversations. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
I mean, it would be completely different time of year, but I'd be happy to tell you my thoughts on the place. I've heard a lot of.
I know. It should be. I don't know. I'm pretty interested to see how it shapes up for you guys. But end of April, it could be interesting. Uh, they're definitely going to be done spawning. That's a fact. So it'll probably be just a brush pile bite. Um, and then next on the list is one that they went to last year, which I've heard from many people was a favorite than this year's schedule. is Broken Bow Lake in Oklahoma, which I've heard is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, dude. When I saw that, is it a small lake? Is it a big lake?
It's giant.
I've heard some of the Oklahoma guys talk about it, but I'm curious to why there's not any other, you don't see Opens there or Toyota Series or, it's kind of undiscovered from a big tournament perspective. Maybe it's different in the kayak world, but I would love to see where that's at and get on the thing.
Yeah, that it is. You know what I'm gonna do here because we've had him sitting in the queue for almost 6 minutes here, and he probably would add some valued input to
Probably.
the schedule here. We're gonna bring Joe in here. Joe, what's going on, dude?
What's up, guys?
We figured we add you in if we're gonna talk fishing and talk lakes. You're a guy that's has traveled.
Yeah,
probably just foaming at the mouth to start adding some input.
Super cool. I'll just be here listening.
Have you been down to Eufaula or Santee?
No, I mean, so like a lot of the tackle trap guys that I hang out with a lot, love that body of water. I have a friend who's in the military who was stationed there for like 2 years, who fished. I mean, he bass fished there a lot. Like, I don't know, the whole brush pile thing. It's like, it's not really my deal. So I haven't made it a point to be there. And I mean, I don't know if you guys watched I forget what they call it, where Upshot and Bradley Hallman and Castledine all get together. What do they call that show?
Wait, like the most recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I watched it was awesome, man. I watched the last half of it.
But from what I know about some of the lakes down south and the brush pile driven ones, like, dude, I don't want to show up and fish at any level there unless it is the highest level. It's not my gig, because, like, dude, I have friends that live in the south that their second boat besides their bass boat is for dropping and moving brush piles. And I know people who, like, if it's a 2-day, like a full weekend event at some of these places down south, and like somebody shows up to their brush pile before them, they'll have friends go move it before the second day.
Jeez.
Yeah. So like, I don't want to be part of it. It's not for me. Like, I don't know. I don't have a group of friends where we coordinate fishing efforts. Like, I don't travel with anybody. Like, I may travel with Brad from Outcast Tackle, the guy that designed the chicken jig last year. Brad reached out to me after this year ended and said, "Hey, bud, are you going to fish all 9, even if you only fish the 3 Northerns again? Do you want to do it?" I said, I hesitated because I'm used to being alone. Like, I don't travel with a co-angler. I don't travel with anybody. I don't get information from anyone. But long story short is I don't have a group of cronies that we all like, this is our thing. I kind of am like Brandon in a sense that I'm friends with a ton of people, but not best friends with a single soul. And so I don't really, that brush pile thing concerns me because it seems like it's a team effort. And if you're not a local and you don't have a team, you're going to struggle on it a little. So I haven't got into it. I haven't made it progressively through my career enough to dabble in it yet.
I got you, man. I mean, hot take on my perspective on this thing. As far as, like, I'm hoping, because it's a fall, kind of a late fall style event in Alabama. Like, as far as official practice days go, I'm going to spend 2 days trying to find something on the bank and not even go near the brush piles. And that may be a death sentence, but like the way the team national is structured, right? Like, you have to basically win it or be in the top 3. So I'm swinging. So if I can get on a shallow bite where they're chasing bait or whatever it may be, there's a lot of grass in that lake. Like,
I feel like the way Welcher fished it last summer or early fall.
Exactly, man. And that's,
dude, like, being from out of town, that's how I'd fish it too.
Yeah.
It's the only way I'd know how to swing without like trying to do what, like, I don't want to go and do what everybody else is doing anyway.
Yeah. And if you're going to do that, I feel like in that situation, as far as if I do get stuck on the brush piles, like I'm going to graph and find the greenest, nicest looking brush piles. And I'm not going to have 100 of them. Right. So like, you're going to have to sit on your 5 or 6. I mean, it may be more than that, but the ones that you feel comfortable sitting on, because you're just not going to be the guy that's running and gunning hitting brush piles. But
you may be able to find a lot too. I don't know. I just don't have experience in the area. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, I heard like there's more brush piles on that lake than a lot of lakes in the country.
Oh yeah, that's what my buddy who was in the Marines was saying. He said it's insane.
Yeah.
So, I've heard Lanier's kind of like that too.
Oh, okay.
This is just a backtrack saying this is Broken Bow, so it's actually not giant, but
how many acres?
For a kayak tournament, it's pretty damn big.
Yeah, see how big it is. Let's see. Broken Bow acres.
You looking it up, Tegan?
Yeah.
It's got a lot of shore.
Got a lot of shoreline. I like all
full transparency here. I am really bad at when people say an acreage of a lake, of like putting that into perspective of how big it actually is. They say like a big number. I'm like, oh, okay, that must be big. Like, you say like
once you start looking at it from that perspective, you'll dial it in. Like, think of like what the best way to learn is to look at like a lake you're very familiar with, right?
Cayuga.
Like Cayuga, and then just know the acreage of that, and then you're like, oh, so it's 2 times Cayuga, it's 3 times Cayuga, whatever it may be.
That is smart.
Cayuga's tough too, though, because like literally the acreage is there's like, since the shorelines are like north and south, dead straight, like kind of gives you a little bit of a false sense, you know, like. Champlain's like what 120 miles long, and it's very similar, like north or south to north, you know.
Yeah, that's a big thing too, right? Like you get into the Ozark region, and those lakes are massive. Just because even though it's only 60,000 acres or maybe 20,000 acres, it is just creek.
Yeah,
so much shoreline.
Yep. Yeah.
But let's see here what we got. Broken Bow.
Cayuga is only 5,800 acres.
Wait, what?
5,800 acres.
5,800. Oh, okay.
The Broken Bow is 14,000. So
pretty big,
dude. But that's not like Toledo Bend's 120,000 daily.
Yeah, Rayburn's like 150, right?
Like that's 10 times as big as that lake.
see, this is like, all right. A really interesting sidebar here, and I wish my buddy Drew Gregory was here to dispute this. But we are having a kayak show coming up, so we can talk about it more there. But so like the whole kayak thing that people are trying to talk about is like getting these kayaks on like these smaller lakes that like big boat tournaments can't get on, obviously.
Sure.
And like I totally understand that from the whole kayak thing, but like personally and selfishly, I love the idea of like a Toledo Bend where I will not see a single soul the entire tournament that's in a kayak. You know, I mean, especially if it's that big, like you take 120 person field. I mean, there's a very good chance you're not going to see anybody throughout the entire week.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I agree if you're looking to not see anybody, but to me, even in any tournament, no matter the lake size, for some reason, like you end up finding something the same as everyone else, man. Like there's always, you know what I mean? Like there's always like, okay, I did my research. This is the area of the lake I want to spend my time in. Well, 50 other guys did that. So then there's like 6 guys in this pocket, 6, you know what I mean? I mean, and it's just how it is, but you could get away from everyone if you wanted to. And that's what's cool about a kayak. I mean, you could go way up the river and like go somewhere where no one else is, you know, would take a boat that does not a local. So
that's kind of like strategy number one is like, at least for me, and it's burned me every time so far. It hasn't proven to be successful yet. Is like get away. Like if you're willing to put in the most miles to get away from a ramp, then you might, you know, if you find something, you'll have to find it to yourself. But that strategy worked out well for me in terms of Chickamauga, except I didn't account for the massive amount of local tournaments that go out of there, and then a boat beat me to that instead of a kayak. So, yeah. And then now completing this, so I stopped boring Joe here.
No, not at all.
The fifth tournament they announced is June 4th and 5th on my favorite place in the world, Lake Chickamauga. That will be a fun one. There's definitely going to be boat tournaments that day, probably like a 300 boat field tournament, but it's June in Chick, so that should be fun.
Heck yeah,
I'll be
man.
scouting the SLR for opening day monsters.
You're
That's
gonna
2 weeks
you're gonna need a
before
30-pound
opening
bag,
day.
son.
What's that?
You're gonna need a 30-pound bag, son.
Dude, okay, so here's what it is I grew up fishing Cayuga. I spent 25 years bass fishing there. I spent the last 5 on Oneida. I've had enough time. It's time to move on. It's time to start that learning curve at the St. Lawrence.
I like it.
It's just time. Like, dude, I spent 5 years at Oneida. I called it my home for 5 years. I only fished Cayuga about 4 times in that 5 years after doing it for 25 years with the old man. It's time to move on. Like, I'll start at the bottom. I don't care if that's what I know. I can get to the top. Like, I believe in my heart that I can figure that out, and I'm gonna start putting in the time now. It's time.
You know, I like that mindset when it comes to like high level tournament fishing. My thought process has been every year focus on something that's really going to be, whether it's an area or a lake specifically, or something that's like that, where it's a current related situation. I mean, like that to me is a good way to really have that. Like, okay, obviously I have my regular tournament season, all these tournaments to fish, but my one really heavy thing I'm going to focus on this year is boom. Every weekend that I have free, I'm going to go to that lake. You know, so I like that mindset.
Well, I mean, like, dude, I actually decided, like, no joke, this is not for the show.
Yeah.
I decided, like, I had said I was going to fish it for like 5 years, but I made up my mind 100% after I watched your video where you broke down major tournament lakes.
Dude, thanks.
Well, no, but I mean, because it makes sense. Like, I knew one of the reasons that it was very valuable to me to fish Cayuga so much was because a lot of high level events for a while had gone there. So I'm like, oh, my experience on there is really valuable. And that is why I started going to Oneida, because I noticed at the time the Costas were going. I noticed the Open was going at the time. Like, they were scoring points that eventually made it on your list. So after I fished the SLR, I think I might have watched it even on the way home. I want to say that I'm not 100% sure, but I think on my drive home from the St. Lawrence, the day after I fished the BFL Super, which was day 3 of the Open, since I didn't make day 3, I was watching it on my 3-hour drive home, and I'm like, well, actually it was 4 hours home because it was from Messina. It's only 3 hours from Clayton I live, but I was like, it's time. It's time for me to learn the next major body of water that is going to help me progress my career. And right now the SLR is number one.
Number one. Yeah.
So like, I mean, and like they talked about it on Castledine and Upshaw and Hallman's show the other day. Like, dude, there's like Ike and Ellie, the schedule set up perfect for him. Like, Upshaw even said he wasn't terribly surprised that Mike requalified because the schedule lined up in his wheelhouse. Well, right now, I believe if the schedule generally stays the same, I've been fishing the BFLs and the major bodies of water in this area long enough that someday a little bit of luck and a lot of experience will help line me up for when it's my time. And all I'm going to do is keep plugging away. It's time to go to the next body of water for me. And honestly, after that, I'm going to start going to Chesapeake all the time because that's 3 hours and 15 minutes away. So I'm going to give it like 3-4 years of SLR, and then I'll start spending the weekends on the Chesapeake. Like, I'm centrally located to so much and closely located to nothing. So like, I had an option. Like, I bought this house in June. I thought about moving to Oneida. I thought about moving closer to Philly. Like, I ain't going anywhere. I'm centrally located for what is going to line up to be my career at whatever level it ends up being. It's yet to be seen, but I'm staying right here.
Well, here's a question for you. So say, you mentioned getting a lot of experience on these few lakes, right? And then that the time comes with a little bit of luck and experience that maybe you'll qualify, right? Okay, so say you qualify. All right. First question, are you going to take that opportunity to go fish the Elite Series?
Did we talk about this on the first time we filmed this?
I don't think we talked about if you.
I know you and I have, right? I know I've talked.
We talked on the
about
phone.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I have a great gig with Alpha. I mean, it's not like a financially lucrative gig, but I have a great gig with them. I'm not going to sacrifice the career I have now, where my fishing industry career is kind of heading, and I'm not going to sacrifice my financial future if I don't. If like, I'm not going to put it all on the line to fish a Bassmaster Elite Series. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to make it through a year and 2 more events and be broke. Like, it's not for me. If I can't get, and I have a number in my head of what it is, if I can't get the money that I believe I need to get in order to make this a calculated risk and not a gamble, I'm not going to, I'll just say no. And it'll be the easiest no I ever said. I don't like saying no to things, but I won't have any trouble because I'm trying to build a business. Like, Joe LaBarbera Fishing LLC is a business, and it's a business built around a lot of hard work and love and trust and great relationships I've built with, brands like Serious Angler and Alpha Angler and Phoenix Boats. And I'm not willing, if a lot of these guys aren't ready to financially support me, if our advertising and marketing contracts can't get me to a place where I believe I'm ready to go, like, I don't have a trust fund. I'm 35 years old. Like, I spent every bit of savings that I have to make a down payment on this house. Like, I wanted to put 20% down when I got this mortgage, and I did. And
nice.
I'm just not ready to, I'm not going to put myself in financial stress. And this is why. It's not because I'm not willing to take a risk, because I probably take more in my life and have taken more in my life, I'd like to think, than a lot of the general population. I'm comfortable taking risks. What I'm not comfortable with is, I know I don't fish good when I'm stressed out. Like, when my personal life sucks, I fish like crap. And I don't want to have to worry about cashing a check to survive. Mm-hmm. I want cashing a check to be, let's go get some cut ice cream and cut it up and have some fun. And if I don't cash a check, I just get to enjoy the journey, use it as a learning experience, try to take what I learned and transition. Like, everybody talks about the 24-hour period you're allowed to bitch and moan after you suck, and then get back on the horse and start riding again. And I don't even like taking 24 hours. Like, dude, I'm done bitching by the time I pull in the driveway. And I am. And I usually drive home that night. I don't stay a lot of days after, unless it's within the St. Lawrence driving distance. But the St. Lawrence and Oneida, I'm coming home after I'm done fishing. And the Chesapeake too. The James I did, and it was the worst choice I ever made. It was 8 hours of me
almost gonna die,
falling asleep, slapping myself. But my point is, dude, I enjoy the journey. I'm not gonna put everything in jeopardy. I just want to fish good. When I'm ready to do it, I want to do it right. It's the reason I don't have a YouTube channel yet. When I'm ready to do it, I want it to be the right way. I want it to be a way I'm proud of. And I know I won't do good. If I have to fork up a bunch of money and, I don't know, go sell my body out there on the street, just to pay my entry fees, I'm not going to fish well. I just won't. I don't want to be eating peanut butter and jelly like Brandon. Brandon might've been able to do it at age 24. I'm not going to be able to do it at age 35. That's not Joe LaBarbera. I will make this a financially sustainable business, and it'll be a business decision. I hope I get there. If I don't, it's cool. I'll enjoy the journey. I'll fish the opens forever. It's fine. I'm okay with it.
And see, that's a good answer, because if where I was going to go at is if you said you were going to accept, right? And I first of all, actually, I really respect how being able to say I would reject it because I enjoy where I'm at. And that takes a lot of props and ability to say that. But if you said yeah that you were going to take it, I was going to come back and ask, is being that you spent all of your time focused on those preliminary lakes, don't you think that would burn you when you went on to that next level? Some people it has, and some people it doesn't.
That's where he wanted to go. I got sidetracked. I don't think that though.
Why not? Why don't you think that?
Because the Northeast Division of the BFLs, in my opinion, is the most diverse set of fisheries in the country. We go from fishing the Potomac River in late April, early March, to the Chesapeake Bay, and the Upper Bay is weird. Dude, the Potomac is weird that time of the year, and the Chesapeake is even weirder a month later. And then we go to Cayuga and Oneida and the St. Lawrence, or we go to Oneida, Champlain, and the St. Lawrence. And we're talking about some of the most diverse fisheries I've ever heard of when you collectively put them together. I mean, Champlain alone is one of the most diverse fisheries in the country. It's 121 miles long.
Yeah,
and you can fish from the lock that goes to Lake George all the way to Missisquoi Bay in Canada. And it's diverse. And just like Paul Mueller came out of this region, Destin is from Grove City, about 15 minutes from where I went to college. Slippery Rock, what? But I believe that fishermen that come out of this region tend to be very versatile fishermen. I mean, there's a lot I need to learn. But I think when it's my time, I think I'll be prepared. I do. I think I could be prepared next year if it happens. I don't know if the business would be prepared next year if it happens. I hope it would. I have a lot of great relationships, but I mean, we'll see. I don't know, dude. I'm just riding the bus, man. I'm driving it as best as I can, but it's got its own autopilot too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I can't believe we haven't even mentioned this yet, because it's like one of the first things we mentioned in our preliminary episode that was a absolute disaster because of me. But is your business ready for any more dunks in the lake before you blast off?
So luckily,
are you going to bring multiple layers?
If I cash in $3,000 checks, I'll jump off the dock every week. It was by far the finish that I'm most proud of yet, and it's not even closest to my highest finish. But it was just like the cap on an amazing month of fishing. So yeah, dude, I'll jump in head first every time if I have to. My headlamp survived. My Red Bull floated. I lost one alpha angler hat and just spent a considerable portion of the morning wet. So, and the funny thing is I didn't put the plug in the boat the next morning either. And NPFL pro Mark Schilling and I talk a lot. And I saw him pulling up with his wife, and I was like, dude, can Trinette stay in the water so I can slide my boat up on the trailer and put the plug in? Because I saw the bilge just spitting every 5 minutes. It just kind of burp a little. And I'm like, I know I forgot to put the plug in.
Yeah.
So if I need that stress every morning in a tournament, I'll still take it for $3,000 every weekend. Even every other weekend. That'd work for me.
So I hate to make you say the story for the third time, but do you want to tell the folks what happened at Salem Tournament?
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Dive in.
And Deke hasn't heard it, so he's got to hear it.
I got to hear it, man.
The floor is yours.
So I had a great practice. I knew I wasn't going to win the Derby, but the week after Oneida, I spent the weekend ripping the boat apart and putting it back together because I like to do that. I like to take all the screws out, Loctite them, put them all back in. Some of them I like Gorilla Super Glue them. It just depends on the location. But I know every corner of my boat. I'm like Brandon, super OCD, super anal. I do it all myself. It's my thing. So I spent that weekend after Oneida. So it would have been that weekend is the first weekend of August, put everything back together. Took me 2 days to do literally everything. I was tightening down the latches of the compartments and stuff, everything. Oneida was crazy. It beat up my gear.
That's what I heard.
So every single weekend after that, I spent the weekend at the St. Lawrence. And I knew, like, while I was up there, I think in total, once I got up there the Saturday and Sunday before the Derby, plus Monday, Tuesday, and I didn't fish Wednesday, I think I spent like 12 days in a month practicing. Excuse me. And I had caught like 50 over 4 pounds, but only 2 or 3 of those were over 5. So I knew I was going to be able to weigh in the low 20s, which I kind of needed. Like, I was sitting in 42nd after day 1 of Oneida, and it's my home body of water. I've been calling it that for 4.5 years, and I bombed. And I bombed because I was struggling with my personal life. I wasn't getting enough rest, and I actually put the business ahead of the fishing that week. I did a lot of like business stuff that I probably, in retrospect, like in hindsight, I shouldn't have done, but I don't know. I wouldn't do it over again. I'd just cut out the personal BS. But anyway, like I knew I was on good stuff, and I knew I'd be okay with that finish because I believed that, like, if I could catch 44.5 pounds, I thought maybe I could make the top 10. But I knew I was going to have to weed through like 20, 25 fish a day to do it, including my co-anglers fish, like, because I knew they were going to catch a couple. I knew some of the spots I was fishing, they were going to get some cracks at them too. So like I knew 20 to 25 fish were going to have to come in the boat a day for me to get to like 22.25 to 23 a day. Right. Mm-hmm. But I thought I could catch like 22.25 a day pretty easily. Cause I hadn't really lost a lot of fish in all of those days in practice either. And that's kind of key to the story. But, I just felt like I was on a numbers deal and I was going to be really, really happy. So I wake up super early in the morning, like over an hour before my alarm. And I'm like, I'm going to the lake, man. Like, I didn't want to go back to bed. I hate waking up to an alarm. So I was going and I was juiced up. Jeez. So I drive the half hour from Watertown to like up to Clayton, and nobody's there. I mean, there was like 2 guys in the water already and there was no one in line. So I like sped up there, I like backed my boat in, but I didn't like take my stuff out of the truck. I didn't go through my normal routine. So I just like ripped the transom saver off, unstrapped it, and I like dumped her in, and I went and I parked at this really short boat slip up in French Creek. And it's like super dark in that marina, right?
It's so dark there.
I mean, dark. If you guys haven't been there, like any of the listeners, it's dark. Like, so I like quick have to like sprint like 100 yards back to my trailer, pull it off the ramp because people are starting to pull in. It's like 4 o'clock, like 4:30 at this point, like 4:30. So people are coming in. Like I might've backed in at like 20 after, and now it's like 4:30. People are, those early birds are arriving. So I like park the truck, and it takes me a little while to like grab everything and like make sure I have it all. And, like, I don't know. I'm like, but the whole time I'm like thinking about the plan, and I'm like, so my first 3 spots are all different, but they're all within like 15 miles. And I'm like, okay, if they do this at this place, like what's going to be my rotation? Should I maybe make a second drift, or should I just move on to the next one? Like what are my reads? Like I felt like Peyton Manning being like real cerebral. I was like, what are my reads going to be? Right. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't have a forehead like Peyton Manning. So that should have like set me off at first. Like this is not for me. Like, but anyway, so I'm doing it. And I have like my rain gear, my lunch, like a Red Bull. Like, dude, I am hugging all of this stuff while I'm walking back. And I see Bailey. Like, oh no, wait, that was later. Okay, you got to tell that part later. But I get to the boat, and like, dude, I straight up just forgot that like literally the dock ended at like the driver's seat of my boat, and and these docks are like 3.5.
They're so tall. Yeah.
Dude, I walked right off the end of one. I mean, like arms full. Face is what hit the water first. Like I might have gone like this, but like my foot never touched the end of the dock. It just like yoink, like, and I just fell 3.5 feet.
Oh
And
my
like I
gosh.
popped up and like I didn't want to let go of my rain gear or anything. And like it's really deep in that marina, like I never touched.
Wow.
So like I mean I was like gasping for air, like and like I
Pedaling.
just like threw my stuff on the back deck of my boat and like I popped up and I was like, don't laugh yet. And like I like kind of like got myself together and I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? And I like my Red Bull was floating, somebody tossed it to me. Like I realized I lost my hat. I did a quick inventory, like, did I still have everything? And like
Mhm.
I hadn't lost anything but my hat. And I was like, and I knew I had spare ones in the truck and spare ones in the boat. And I was like, I just yell out, I'm like, okay, you can laugh now. And like 4 dudes just like lose it, like out there in the darkness. Right? Like it was so funny, man. Like, and then like, but now I start like panicking because I'm like getting a little cold, right? And it's like 4:30. And I'm like, what am I gonna do? And like people are coming up to me, they're like, Joe, why is your hair all wet? And eventually I just make the like decision after I had somebody like give me a shirt, somebody gave me like a dry pair of bibs, but I didn't want to take like any of my Under Armour layers off because like as soon as I took my AFTCO Reaper off, dude, I was steaming. Like all my body heat was getting out and it was getting out through my Under Armour. So I'm like kind of getting a like slightly panicky, like how am I going to manage my energy, like, and all of the things that I need to manage just to get to my first fishing spot? Like, what's the best course of action? And finally, one of my buddies just convinced me, go sit in the truck with the heat on. Like, things aren't going to get worse there, at least. You're going to be wet, but you'll be warm. Like, maybe you can calm down to decide what you should do. And like, I wasn't like outwardly panicky, but in my head, I was going like 100 miles an hour because I was like, did I just blow the last month of God knows how much money and like energy I put into all this? And now I may not even find out what the payoff is going to be. And I was like nervous about it. And I just like, I see Bailey while I'm walking back to the truck. And I just, dude, I couldn't even tell him the truth. I was like, I slipped off the end of the dock, dude. Like, wow. Like, I was embarrassed, man. And I was like watching it all get away from me. I was like, oh my goodness, no. But it all worked out. I mean, like I lost 11 fish in that tournament. I think 8 of the 11 was because I broke them off. Like I caught them all on 30-pound braid to a 15-pound leader. I caught them all on a baitcaster, like either a Carolina rig or a football jig. And I hadn't really been breaking them off like that in practice. Maybe I was and not paying attention that much, but I mean, it wasn't at the rate that I did it those 2 days, but I know the fish were there to caught the weight I wanted, but I still wouldn't have made the top 10 anyway because it was higher than I ever would have imagined. After the pressure that place has taken this year, I cannot believe it took 46 pounds to make the top 10.
Smallmouth, man.
It's crazy, man.
It's the number one fishery in the United States for a reason. Like,
That is a fact.
yeah.
It was just funny. I parked Chris Johnson's truck, get out of the truck, and I'm like walking around to the hood to go down the hill.
It was
where all the
Corey's.
trucks are
It was
staged.
Corey's, right?
No, it was Chris. I was with Chris, not Corey.
I thought you drew Corey. I don't know. I thought you were driving the power pole truck when I saw you.
No, it was the Under Armour truck.
Gotcha.
And that's when I saw you, and you're like, Bailey, you would not believe what I just did. And I was like, what? And I can barely see it. It's still pitch black out, and I just hear Joe's voice, and he goes, dude, I fell in the lake. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, I fell in. And I'm like, how the heck did you manage that? I flew off the dock. I was like, you're an idiot.
It was rad. But
yeah.
like honestly, I think it took my mind off everything. I think I was gonna overthink stuff, and it made me go out and fish. Now I don't think I fished great, and it did take me a little while to get moving because I did break 3 off at my first spot. My first 3 passes, broke 3 freaking jigs off. And I went to my next spot and I lost one on a sea rig because I was like, I'm not throwing that jig no more. Then I lost one on a sea rig. I get it back. My Max Scent Beaver is like all balled up. I'm like, what is like? Am I just destined to do terrible? But at like 9:30, the sun came out. I really got warm by 9:30. I remember looking down and I was like, I'm not cold anymore. Like my hair is real long on the back of my neck. And I'm like, my hair is finally dry. I'm starting to warm up. And then I caught a 490. I weighted as 498 on my scale. Like it was bouncing between like 5 1/4 and 4 3/4. And like somehow when I hit lock, it was right in the middle. So, and that started everything. Like I was like, okay, I got a 5-pounder. Like I'm a pound ahead, or at least 3/4 of a pound ahead than what I thought I needed to be. So let's go to work. And I, at that point, I had already moved 30 miles east. I passed Paquette and Greg DePalma. We were fishing between we're like kind of inside in the United States side of Brockville. And I saw both of those guys kind of like where I wanted to be. And I pulled up on like my third spot just past them and got a 5-pounder. And I was like, let's go. And then I put 2 3-pounders in the boat. And I just knew that I was kind of like reading the slightly different wind direction good, because I had to modify my drift lines a little, like where I was starting, and started to come together after that. So I'm glad it pulled me off my game, because on day 2, I just went out and fished. I said, after leaving the plug out on day 2, I'm like, dude, I'm not meant to think about it. I just got to roll with it. And I had a blast. Like caught a ton of fish. My co-anglers sacked them pretty good. Like if my co-angler on day 2 wouldn't have had a dead 3-0, he could have made a charge. Like, but I mean, and I tried to help him out. I'm like, dude, I swear that fish is alive. And he's like, nah, dude, it's dead. I'm like, well, good for you. Like, I thought I saw it move a fin. And I really did. But like 5 minutes later, I looked in the live well again, and that thing's dead. Like,
No,
but he had a 5-3 and a 4-3 that day, too.
Oh, man.
So he could have charged. I mean,
yeah,
I was fishing like, and I didn't go back down to Brockville after that either. Actually, I stayed on the Canadian side, just through Eel Bay, not far from where Dean Meckes made the top 10. Like, dude, honestly, my starting spot is where Dean spent like 2/3 of his day on Bass Live, like within a couple 100 yards. I never fished the drift he was on, but I mean, they live there. Like, they live all over the river, but apparently a big number of them must live there. The main guide out of Clayton, New York, is fishing that area. So, and nobody told me about it. Like, I mean, I just went up there one day and I thought it looked good.
Old Dean Meckes.
Dude, I had no idea who he was. Yeah, dude's a straight hammer. Like, I've done my research since. Like, dude doesn't mess around.
No, he does not. And he was fishing very similar to the way you were.
Exactly the same. I'm just using a way different rod. I'm using a 7.5 medium extra fast, running 30-pound braid to like an FG knot to 15-pound Tatsu. Like, I've tried some other lines. Like, I tried running 17-pound to Brazex. I don't know. I thought 15 Tatsu just kind of matched well. It ties a good knot with that 30-pound Seagar Smackdown. So
now this football jig you're throwing, are you throwing like a more of a lighter gauge hook, or is it just like your straight up, beefcake hook on your football jig? Or am I asking too personal questions?
Yeah, I see some flinching going on.
No, I mean, like, for the most part, I'm throwing like a pretty open water. Like, it's a 7.5 medium. Like, it's not a huge rod.
Yeah.
So like, so my favorite is not by the jig company that sponsors me. But I love the Depths headlock, dude. I think the Depths headlock in a 1/2 ounce, see, in a 1/2 ounce and in a 5/8 ounce, they're using a completely different hook. Like, it might be the same shape, but it doesn't have the same gap and it's not the same wire. So like, I use them both. I love them both. The 1/2 ounce is really similar to the Beast Coast 1/2 ounce that like that they spent like 3 years developing. I helped them with a little bit, but then I kind of lost touch with them because Smallmouth Crush wanted a part of it. But Travis fishes up there way more than I do. He has way more time to give way better input than me. So like, I totally understand. I think it was a brilliant business decision on their part to get a guy that lives on the St. Lawrence River, lives on the Beast Coast, to give more input. And plus I was busy, like I was buying a house and I was having personal life issues and stuff like that. So, I mean, the jig's not exactly the way I would have finished it. I like the depths one a little bit better, but I'll tell you right now, there's about 50. Where's my jig box? There's like at least 50 in package, or in packages still in a box sitting next to my football jig box, which is full. And then I have like at least 40 or 50 headlocks too. So they're the two jig that I throw in open water now. There's no weed guard on either of them. So, I mean, I've used like Mullix makes a decent one. I just cut the weed guard off of it. The Picasso Aaron Martin's one's really dope too. My problem with the Aaron Martin's one is, for some reason, I think if you're going to use a beaver, it seems like a beaver always balls up in that one. I don't know if it's like the titanium wire, like weed guards. It has like 3, like I can't even, I'm not good at sock puppets, but like I always get like my beaver pulled up. Like if I'm going to use the Picasso, I have to run the big TRD from Z-Man on the back of it. I can't run a beaver on the Picasso for some reason.
Are you mostly on those open water football jigs? Are you a beaver trailer guy?
I let them tell me what they want. I thought I was only going to run a Ned rig actually for the Derby, and it seemed like kind of like from the weekends I was up there prior, and then I kind of just like saw a shift right before the tournament, and I just all of a sudden, like, they wanted 2 flappers instead of 1 tail. I don't know. It shifted for me. Like, I cannot wait till that new chigger comes out though. Like, I may have a few because I'm sneaky and resourceful. But that new 3-inch chigger is, I'd like, dude, I have to take the Maxent creature hog right now. And like, I feel like a surgeon, like going to town, like trimming it and angles. And like, I just can't wait till the new chigger comes out so I can take it out of the package and put it on there. Like,
yeah.
Cause yeah, I mean, I prefer to run a beaver when I can because I want to give off more Maxent, but like sometimes they don't eat it like that. Oneida, I think they actually eat the TRD better, but
really,
yeah, because so Oneida's most, like, there are a ton of gobies in there, and it's becoming, there's more, like, the population is growing tremendously, but there's a lot of sculpin in there too, and Champlain has a lot of sculpin, and I know the lakes that have sculpin seem like if you trim that skirt all the way back so it's just flares like a finesse skirt, and you run a turd on it, it seems to be the juice more often than not. So like I tend to run the big turd at Oneida, and I tend to like run a trim back beaver on the St. Lawrence. I don't know, it could be the size of the fish too. Like the St. Lawrence is 7-pounders on it. I've only caught like 3 smallmouth in 5 years over 5 pounds at Oneida. So it could just be the class of fish and the forage, you know, like, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot of factors.
What I'm taking out of this is that you don't leave a weed guard on your jigs.
You do that, Bailey, on deep water stuff?
I mean, I don't really throw it that much for smallmouth, but like,
I don't really swim a jig with much of a weed guard in it too. Like I'll take like half that weed guard and I'll just start chopping it out. Like I'll chop it all the way back to the head. Like I'm not a big weed guard guy. I think if you're fishing grass where I live, it's so healthy that I want to hang it on the grass and then I want to top it off. Like, so like, I don't even fish in a swim jig. I don't have much use for a weed guard. Like, well, dude, when I'm fishing a chatterbait, like sometimes I'll fish a chatterbait in 3.5 feet of water, but I'll fish a 3/4 ounce because I want to bury that thing and then I want to crack it out of there. Like, I mean, if you're fishing good, healthy northern vegetation, which is where I live, I mean, when I go down to the Potomac, it's different, but when not even always there. Like just depends on the year and the area of that body of water that you're fishing. Like, I'm not a big weed guard guy most of the time. I mean, I think I'm lucky to be able to say that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't live in Alabama, like our grass dies off every single year if they don't kill it with pesticides and then mow it down with the mowers. And then it's got to grow back healthy every year. And it's a short growing season. So we're talking about grass is really only growing from like June 1st to like first week of September. And then nights drop into the 40s and it starts dying. And we have grass that tops out in like 15 feet of water, 17 feet of water some years. Some years it only gets halfway up in 15 feet of water, but like that stuff's healthy if it's growing that fast in that few number of weeks. So like we're talking about some healthy grass. You can really hang it and snap it, man. Like
that's
fun fishing in the summer 101 in my book.
That's awesome. And no, Bailey, and I didn't mean like, oh, you don't do that with weed guards. I trim mine, or I have them. If I'm not fishing around wood, if I'm on a deep football jig bite, man, it's gone. Like I learned that fishing the ledges on Kentucky Lake, just having you might be on a bomb cast with a 3/4 ounce or a 1 ounce jig and just having nothing in the way of that hook. But I am curious to try. I'm going to try some of that. Even with our grass around here, it's not like your guys' grass, but we do have some lakes, especially in like Nebraska, that get a lot of grass, and it's all northern strain, and it's very healthy grass. And I'm curious to try stuff without a hook. I mean, obviously like or without a weed guard, rather, like chatterbait, obviously no weed guard there. And I've done that exact same thing, getting it hung and ripping it out. But with like a swim jig, I've always had that weed guard on there, but maybe it's better to just have that thing and zip it right out of it.
Deke, I fish a 3/4 ounce jackhammer more than I fish any other chatterbait.
Wow.
And like, I don't care if there's only 18 inches between top of the water and the grass, like, or in the first thing in the spring down in the Chesapeake, that's what I'll be slow rolling. Like, dude, I fish a black and blue 3/4 ounce more than any other bait. And I just mess with the trailer. Like I'll put like a skinny beaver, or not a skinny beaver, a skinny dipper on the back if I want it to ride high. And then I'll put a more fluke style trailer on it if I want it to run lower. Like I got no like 3/4 ounce. I'm hanging it because I want to hang it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the grass is only this long on the bottom, I want to hang it in there. Like,
yeah, create that reaction strike.
Well, I mean, it just it feels like home too. Like wherever I travel, like we all revert back to the techniques that we feel comfortable doing and that we enjoy fishing. And like, I don't want to be out there aimlessly winding stuff. Like I want to get into something and I want to hit it and I want to snap it. And like, that's me. Like if I got to fish with a bait caster and I don't get to fish with a spinning rod, like if I got to wind that old thing, like I need something to do. I got ADHD to the max, man. Like self-diagnosed, man. I want to do something.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's
maybe
why
you need to start playing around with that more. Like when I know there's no grass around, taking the weed guard completely off. I don't do that. Like I'll be honest, I had a queen tackle finesse football jig tied on for St. Lawrence to drag, and I trim all my, all of them that I throw, but I don't remove them completely.
Get it out of there.
Get it out of there, man. No, nothing to get in the way of that hook.
Well, because here's the thing:
But I also say that though because I haven't had an issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good, and now you definitely won't.
This is fair.
there isn't a single weed out in the middle of that lake. Like there's too much turbulent water. It ain't growing out there. You don't need that thing. And here's the thing too, like if they slackline me and they really get it into their crushers, I don't want anything poking them to where they're going to drop it.
Spit it right out.
Like I don't because when those fish come and they slackline you, you don't know if they have that thing twisted upside down, backwards. Like I don't want anything in my way. And that's what I worry about. I'm not worried about like your standard bite. Like I know, like if I'm making a drift or if I'm like at Oneida and I'm like bringing it up that boulder, that like, and they just come and they go, like, I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is when they come and they hit it at like mock butthole and it gets all twisted up in their mouth. Like I'm gonna yank, and who knows? Like my rod might be back here when I yank.
Sure.
You know, like I'm just trying to control as many variables as I can.
Makes sense, man.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's something I need to start doing a little bit.
Did you just write that down?
Maybe. Dude, I do this for every show. I always
Bailey is the king of notes. He learned so much just to this stuff, and he'll just here we go. And then he'll like look up some, like the other night he's like looking up tackle and stuff. He's like, wait, what were those guys doing?
Yeah, so we had Caleb and Alex on for Monday Night Live, and I literally have my show notes from that other night because like this is why I started this whole serious angler thing from the beginning. Was like I wasn't going to be able to fish when I had an internship for 6 months. So like, why don't I just talk to people? That way I might not be able to learn as much on the water, but I'm still learning off the water for when I'm out of here. Maybe I could start using this crap. So from Monday night, I literally have notes like Caleb started talking about an Asian fishing portal, and I don't know what the hell that is. So I'm going to go look into that now.
He's saying this stuff out loud, Bailey.
I mean, it's already on Monday's show, dude. And people hate me.
You set aside time.
I thought it was before the show started airing, but I could be wrong.
It's okay. Let me re-leak some juice that from our previous show too. So I was talking about my favorite brand of crankbaits, and Full texts me the next day, and he goes, "So what colors should I get?" And no lie, like yesterday or the day before, he texted me, "Just put in another order," and like so he was like, had to get the juice, right? So.
What is that? I wasn't here for this.
I mean, when you guys asked me my final question, we can always talk about them some more. Because I believe this lure designer is the best ever, which is a tall order, and not a lot of people know who he is in the United States. But his baits sell out in Japan and here like that, and the only other person I've ever heard actually say the brand name out loud before was Trait. Now, I know other people that use them. I know pros that use them. Oh, I've heard Menendez say their name out loud too. But it's pretty kept under wraps. But like, honestly, if you're watching this show, you've probably heard about them or you're on the verge too. And this is how I heard about this stuff. So like, and I've got kind of like an in to like find them in Japan now. So I don't have to worry about the like 3 places that get them in this country. So I'm not really worried about like you stealing my inventory, but I have hundreds. I have dozens in the box in case I lose a couple to toothy critters. So like, I mean, but he's my number one when you guys ask me the final question, so we can talk about him some more.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of what you do with tackle too. Like I've actually, what I just did is I just got on Amazon, some of those, pegboards, right? Like these kind of heavy duty pegboards for plastics in the garage now. And I am so much of a person who's like, all right, I know what I use in a year, like roughly, especially. So I have a stockpile that is just like, man, like people,
I love it.
A lot. It's a good feeling to have because you know,
it's
like
an investment.
It's sold out. It is an investment. Yeah.
I mean, I got all of my flatworms for 2 years last November, and then a bunch of the Elite Series guys like kind of found out I had some, so I had to stock 3 of those guys up before the Northern Swing. Darn it! But you know, I was happy to do it because I know the day I come calling, it's going to be saving grace for me. So, you know, I still have enough to get me through a whole nother year. A lot of those guys sent them back to me too, the stuff they didn't use. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of just, I'm a stockpiler. I can't help it. I can't roll up to a place. I mean, dude, it's an investment in my future. If I have stuff too that I bought that I haven't used for like 2-3 years and I still haven't tried that bait yet. But when the conditions come, like I will. It's an investment in my future.
It is, man.
Yeah, I have a lot to learn when it comes to baits. Like majority, 99% of my time is spent like learning like fishing placement stuff versus like what to throw. I am like you asked Andrew, I am so bad about that. Like I am just very streamlined, like especially when it comes to, he's like very meticulous with colors. And I'm like green pumpkin, black and blue, white. That's all I throw at it. Because I'm a simple-minded human being, and if I try to overcomplicate things, it's just gonna hurt me in the long run. So that's why I keep it like I'll use 1 to 3 different brands of a specific bait, a couple colors, and I keep it at that. Otherwise, I'm just gonna run myself just
Deke, what are
too
you?
off the path.
Dude, I am very interesting when it comes to this because Bailey, I think that it's an advantage to be like that. Like if you really look at like what guys throw, like I mean, there's some guys who are like, I use 5 plastics and I will and they're Elite Series guys who are making a ton of money every year. Right. Like I think there's an advantage there. I think there's also some little sneaky things that are cool. So like for me, what I feel like I'm like a little bit more in the middle. Like it's interesting. Like I can sit here and we'll be talking with like Andy and Bailey will be like completely like, what bait are you guys like? What are you guys even explaining right now? Because he's like Berkeley flatworms, like, you know, and it's cool. But like I dig in deep on hard baits, on frogs, on like that's kind of more where I have like more sneaky things that I try and find. Plastics for me, man, I'm pretty simple, very simple with colors, very simple with a couple of brands that I like. But as far as like hard baits go, that's where I'll explore and spend some money. Or A rigs too. You can find some cool A rigs that are higher quality than just your traditional A rig if you're allowed to use them. And so like that kind of stuff I mess with, but I'd say I'm hard baits particular, not so much when it comes to soft baits.
It's awesome to hear that. I'm still trying to decide where I land. That's what I wanted to know. I mean, like, dude, I'm not a simple guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like every year I simplify the things I feel like I have become more of an expert on. But at the same time, I'm always constantly adding new additions. And with those additions comes a loss of simplification in a new area. So
right.
like
it completely changes things.
Yeah. So like I feel like I've never actually become more simple. I feel like what happens is I learn a little bit more for the stuff that I love. And so that becomes more simple. Except for mid-diving crankbaits. Like I will own every single color because I tend to be the type of guy when cranking that I'm really like in my head. I've had a few experiences I can't get away from. So I believe like if I change an angle and change my color, I can refire up a school of smallmouth or largemouth, depending on which body of water I'm on. And so I have to own every color. Like I'm really bad about it, but because I know the drawing power that they have, and I gain a lot of confidence from changing a color and changing angles and still making it like in my ability to not have to leave, because I'm not like a runner and gunner that much. Like I'm going to pick apart an area. So I think that kind of is what plays into like when it comes to like
being particular,
when it comes to OSP crankbaits, like that's only 2 different baits, like 2 rows at the bottom, 2 rows at the top, but like I gotta have them all.
Yeah.
And darn, I just said the name, but like
now I've heard this name. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's just I don't know. Like there are certain things I'm like silly about, and certain things that like I wish I could be even more simple. Like I wish I could be like Gussie and just be like, I'm using the hula sticks and green pumpkin. That's it. But like I can't be my only Ned rig. I can't do it. I'm not wired quite yet for that. And maybe I don't feel like I've reached expert level yet. Maybe someday. But like I carry like 4 frogs. Because I mean that's I can be simple. I carry like 4 different color chatterbaits because I don't need a ton.
Yeah.
I have a lot in the truck, but like I'll only use them like if the chatterbait I feel like is the deal. I only have like 4 in the boat, like 4 colors at a time. Just trying to become more of a minimalist.
I like it.
Dude, see that's where I like go crazy, especially with chatterbaits. Like I only own 3 colors, and that's it. Like I hear people talking about like, oh, I gotta mix up this little color with that, and I'll go crazy with trailers. But like when it's just chatterbait, dude, I won't own other than a black and blue agreed pumpkin or white.
I don't know. I love the
like I look at like people that are so picky about the underbelly of a jig head on it, and I'm like, the fish isn't gonna give a shit about that. I don't know. That's
Dude,
just
the
me.
funny thing about the jackhammer too is they make different colors in Japan. So like the colors we think we have here, there's even more, dude. Like, and I went nuts one winter. Like, I went way over my head, and they're a little cheaper in Japan too. So like, you know, I was like, well, if I'm gonna spend $25 on DHL shipping, like,
we might as well just
order $450 worth of jackhammers. Like, I had to have like 3 every one in half and 3/4. Like, I don't know. I lost control.
Aren't they tungsten over there too?
I believe they'd seem like they're the same size though, so I don't know. It's confusing. I gotta learn how to read Japanese. I think it's the only way we're gonna get to the bottom of this one.
Dude, I've told Andrew a few times that like I really want to learn Japanese, and that started like Destin and I went down to Lake Fork back before they went down there for pre-practice, and I was allowed to go. I got cleared by Bass because I'd never been there, and we pull into our rental for the week, and stay next to us is Taku Ito. So we got to see him a few days. And it's like that language barrier. It was like, it's cool to see him, but like you can't get to talk to him like in an efficient way. And I like from that point on, I was like, I need to learn Japanese at least a little bit. And I've been fortunate to like through my job, I've worked with Ken Duke a bunch. And like every time I see him, I have him teach me like 2 to 3 sayings because his wife's Japanese, and he teaches me a couple different sayings in Japanese to say to guys.
So I have a buddy who's been here for like 12 years. I met him through the Featherwick guys, and Akira is like one of the best co-anglers in our country, and he used to travel until COVID with Toshinari Namiki, who owns OSP, and Toshi should be back next year to try to fish all 9 opens again and try to qualify again. And Akira has an amazing OSP soft bait collection. I'm a big OSP hard bait guy. I prefer the medium divers. Trait really prefers the blitz shallow runners. But I have a bunch of the other like goofy ones too that I really have fallen in love with also. And now they make a new Magnum. They used to have only a Magnum MR. Now they have an SR. But anyway, I've like told Akira, like, you have to let me meet this guy. Like when he comes back, I have to meet him, and you have to translate for me. And I'm probably going to spend a decent portion of this winter trying to learn a few things, so that I can talk to this man. Like, I really would love to. I believe the guy's a genius. Deke, have you ever thrown OSPs?
What?
Have you ever thrown an OSP correctly?
No. Nope.
Yeah, you don't want to.
No, I should throw them out. Man, no. So my only connection to this, Bailey, I don't know. You met Kaito when we were at the Classic, right? The guy that I went to the Classic with. You remember?
I gotta plug this in.
Japanese guy.
I want to say so, but it's not ringing a bell.
Okay, so he moved to Dallas from here. So he went to school at CSU. We both fished on the CSU bass fishing team, and so he grew up in California, and actually worked for Lucky Craft and grew up like at Lucky Craft's headquarters, kind of. So it was really, really cool. But
wow.
He's 100% fluent in Japanese, and he goes back to Japan all the time with his family. Anyways, it was really cool to see him at the Classic. But if we ever want to, side note, like have a show with a Japanese angler and need a translator, he's 100% in. Like he said that to me. I had him on my show on Business from the Bass Boat before we merged and stuff, just to talk about his experience with Lucky Craft. And he's a financial advisor in Dallas now, but is a good fisherman, a good dude. And at the Classic, he was actually like he walked up to Taku and they like completely went off in Japanese, and I was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but this is pretty cool.
You're from like the scene in Good Burger. We're like, yeah, I know some of these words.
Dude, like they like
I know none of these words.
yeah, like they bowed to each other and they were like chatting and all this stuff, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on, but like this is so cool because Kaito's one of my like good buddies from college, so it was fun. But that it's really cool to hear about. I mean, he's a hard bake freak, just like Joe is. I mean, when it comes to like Japanese hard baits, but it's really cool to hear the side of that whole thing with Japan hard baits.
Yeah, dude, we need to get that set in stone.
Let me know.
Like, yeah, but let's see. Take a stab at what is leading this Bassmaster Open right now.
Oh, I've been watching, so I can't.
Oh, don't cheat. All right, well, we'll ask Joe. We'll ask Joe when he gets back on.
Yeah.
What are you asking, Joe?
We're asking you a series of very intensive questions that require mathematics.
7th. Sorry, I just saw that.
I did see that. I was going to bring it up.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I got excited. I've been following the Opens like it's, I mean, my day job, man.
Mm-hmm. All right, Joe. What do you think weight-wise is leading the Bassmaster Open on Smith right now?
Oh.
Hold up. There's been 71 anglers that have weighed.
Yeah.
So a third of the field.
Don't look down. Put your phone away.
No, I'm playing.
Oh, I thought you were looking at your phone.
No.
You cheater.
Phone's over here. Oh, my mommy texted me.
Hey Siri.
14 and a half.
Wow.
That was pretty damn close. 14-2.
But I would imagine the spread is very vast still at this point.
14-2,
like, it'll be
13-3, 11-11, 10-10, 9-9. Like, they're only, let's see, 9, 10, only 11, 12. I'm seeing 12 limits out of 70 plus people.
Yeah, I mean.
Fall fishing, man.
Yeah, and it's like not quite fall yet.
Early fall, especially down there. Like it's like.
But I heard it's not even fall yet there.
Yeah.
Like, what have you guys checked the nighttime temps? I didn't check them.
No, but no, like I need to, like that's why I'm hoping with Eufaula that it's like a fall bite. You know what I mean? I don't want to go on a winter bite on a brush pile lake. Like I hope it's still like chasing bait in the fall kind of a thing, being December.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. Like, I just hope it's what you want it to be when you get there. I just hope I'm just hopeful for you. Like,
yeah. I hope it sucks for everybody else and it's great for you.
You know, like I don't know. I just want to see my friends be happy. I don't even care about success at any level. I just hope they have success in their own lives. You know, like I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to be. I mean, I got some guesses. Again, like I just hope it, like in 60 days, that's what it is, you know?
Exactly, man.
This is fair. All right, boys, we are going to start wrapping things up here. I actually have a friend coming into town. I haven't seen since.
Hold on. Can I do one shameless plug that I did last time, Joe?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're still not done. I still got another question for you. But
I got to do
your Daiwa plug.
The Daiwa reels, like the shameless Daiwa plug, like Rembrandt reels, Dr. Daiwa, like hooked me up with the Steez 1000. I'll save his favorite for last. He called that one Blue Thunder. This is an Alphas 800, so the new Alphas. That's the Red Baron.
Jeez.
And the New Zillion 1000, so the Japan model of the G. He hooked that up. So we were joking, like, what's
some wizardry right
like,
there.
That's a sesame chicken, doesn't it? Or no, that's what he said. And he's like, I guess he asked one of the Daiwa guys to send him what it would look like one of the Daiwa Japan guys to send him what it would look like what would Venomous Viper be, because that's what he wanted to call this one. He like had the idea for it before I even sent him the reel. He reached out to me and was like, hey, I want to paint one of your Zillions. Like, can you let me paint it whatever color I want? And I'm like, what's it going to cost me, dude? I've seen your work. It's like way out of my league. And he's like, no, just send it to me. Like, I want to paint it. I was like, Oh yeah, I'm in, dude. Like you don't have to ask me more than once. And so he got that. He wrote it on there, and like he prints on the back all his reels. He puts Rembrandt reels and the year on there, like RR21. But yeah, this is each of the 3 like reels that came out early season. So they dropped in Japan right around the canceled like show that they have. That's like their iCast. I forget what it's called every year. Daiwa Japan dropped these 3 reels. So it was the Steez 1000 Limited, the Zillion 1000, which has the aluminum gear, whereas the American Zillion SV TWG, the global, has the brass gear. And it, I believe, may actually be made in Taiwan, whereas this one's made in Japan. And then the Alphas 800. They dropped those back in early spring. And they are sick, dude. I don't want to run. Brandon put a Zillion post up today. I don't want to run anything but this reel anymore, dude.
Wow.
Like, Zillions are the silliest. Dude, I could throw away everything. And I've been like a big Daiwa Japan supporter for a lot of years. Like the whole TW generation, I've been a supporter since they started the T-Wing. I have a lot of friends that love the OG, like Team Daiwa stuff, and I like the TW series, and some of them are awesome and some of them really suck. And this is by far the best reel they've ever produced. But yeah, shout out to Rembrandt for hooking me up, dude.
Yeah.
Look at you and your fancy flashy Daiwas.
Dude, I'm like, I run a reel for every single rod I have. Like, I'm not a switcher. Like, they have to have their thing. Like, I switch on some of my swim bait stuff, but like, cause I flip flop some of my swim bait A-rig rods, depending on like water temp and what I'm running. But they're the only ones I flip flop. Like my straight up like summer stuff, like I got like 80 rods and 80 reels. Like that's pretty much I don't know. I get you. I'm not a flip flopper. I have a big spreadsheet that I got to show Deacon sometime that like stuff. And like, I rarely change line size with a lot of the stuff that I do too. Like every winter, the spreadsheet gets revamped. Like I put a new page down in the corner of the Excel tab, like 18, 19, 20, 21. Like I can't wait to add 22 come December and start working on the new one,
Dude, I like it. You have to send me that. I'll have to modify it and make one for myself.
Dude, it's like, and it's fun. Like you, like us, we have a off season and, I don't deer hunt. Like I'm going to steelhead fish for like 5 weeks here. You start with like 2 weeks of salmon and then you get 3 or 4 weeks of steelhead and like, then it's over and it's cold and icy and I can only go ice fishing for like 4 hours before I'm just bored out of my mind,
I'm with you.
I don't know, like I need something to do and I mess with tackle. I'm a tackle hoarder and I'm a gear geek and like I love the hookup tackles bento box every month. It's like the biggest waste of $100 ever, but I can't stop. I'm like addicted, like because I have so much of it. It's not a waste because to me it's a waste. You want to know why it's a waste? Is because like now I only have one of that bait, and I'm like, if I don't like it, it's like but like if I like it, I'm like, well, there's no more in that color in stock. How am I going to get more? Like, so to me, that's a waste because I can't have 40. Yeah. So I don't know, but it does help me. Like, I even think I saw Gussie post about it once. Like, it helps me keep my thumb on what's new and exciting. And I need something to do, man. Like, I'm a single 35-year-old guy. Like, like I'm very passionate about this sport and I want to learn as much as I can. And I spend too much money sometimes, but it makes me happy. Like it's my thing.
I'm with you,
dude. Thank you. Well, Deacon, you got anything left for Joe here before we let him go?
No, man. I'm glad. Actually, I feel bad that the audio messed up for you guys, but I'm glad that I could make this one. So maybe it was a good thing that happened.
It was destiny.
Yeah, I mean,
the world was sick of Andy's voice.
No, I mean, I can't. I get to hang out with Andy. I'm going steelhead fishing with him on November 1st.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm gonna drive up to Buffalo because this is my nirvana. When the season is over, like I had a guy this weekend from Oklahoma come up to me and he's like, "Dude, why aren't you guiding up here?" I'm like, "Nah, no, man. This is my serenity now." Like I felt like Costanza's father. Like serenity now. Like it's the thing I do after running the trolling motor hard. So I actually told Bailey, I'm like, I was really hoping I'd get to be on the show at some point with Deke because I think we're very analytical about a lot of things.
For sure.
And so I really I wanted to meet you, dude. I really wanted to get to know you. And I'm gonna get to hang out with Andrew in person. So this was good. Like it was fate, you know?
Yeah, man, it worked out. Absolutely.
Oh well, we already know what's your top 3 folks that you'd like to take to dinner, get a steak and a beer, but
I can make it more simple this go around.
Yeah, just let the folks know your top 3, and then we're gonna wrap things up here.
It's real simple for me. Like I'd choose a lure designer. I'd choose a guy who I want to learn a technique from, and then I'd choose somebody who I can talk to about something other than bass fishing, but still like in the fishing world, in the outdoor world. So for me, I'd choose Toshi. I think he's by far the #1 lure designer ever. Like, not to take anything away from Yuki Ito or even the team at Berkeley that came up with such a great scent. Like, not to take anything away from what these guys have done. But I live in the Great Lakes and I love to crank for smallmouth. And Toshi has come up with a set of crankbaits, both square bill and mid diving, that without a weight transfer system still cast better, farther, more accurate than any other crankbait ever designed. He makes a phenomenal jerkbait. Like Mark Menendez has been talking about the OSP Varuna for like more than a half dozen years. From square bill to jerkbait to and their soft plastic line is coming along. And so Toshi, #1, easy. I mean, I probably have to get a translator, but I'm not counting them in my top 3. #2, dude, I've been following Chris to his shows, Zaldane, for 5 years now. I met him the first time, and dude, he really made me feel like the second time I met him, he remembered our first conversation. And then we talked for 45 minutes, dude. I had his full and divided attention in a store full of people waiting to talk to him. He didn't stop talking to me. And ever since then, I've been a big fan. And I started following him really closely. And when he started implementing big baits into his arsenal, and then started talking about small baits into his arsenal, and we, as Chris gained more and more success in the last 5 years, he's been exposed to the ability to talk about his versatility more. And I've learned that he's a tremendous teacher, and I'm a teacher by trade. So I think he's just a downright awesome guy. He's a phenomenal teacher, and I want someday for him to take me spooning for smallies, because watching him do that on Champlain on live, I already knew he could do it amazing, and I wanted to learn how to throw the big hubcap for largemouth down south on a TVA body of water someday. But now that I know he can do the same thing for smallies, that skyrocketed him right behind Toshi. And then my #3, I tossed it around for a while because, no lie, Mark Zona does narrate my life when I'm by myself running the trolling motor a lot. I don't know if any of you guys also have that.
Dude, for sure.
But dude, him and Tommy Sanders have really been the voice of what Joe LaBarbera is doing on his practice days a lot for a lot of years. But I decided I'd go with Pete Mena, or maybe Andrew Full, because I need to talk to somebody about something other than bass fishing sometimes, because it helps to remind me why I do this. I've had a lot of good years where salmon and steelhead fishing was fun after a season, but I've had a lot of bad years where it saved my year. And last year I was not happy with how I did, But I started talking to people when I was up there. And one of my buddies who I fish against, I met him up there. Come to find out, we had mutual friends. And like one day, like 16 of us went, like took over a section of the river up in New York, like on one of the tributaries. And it's kind of like snowballed into like this thing that really brings me great joy. So to fish with a guy like Andrew and have him at dinner, or to fish with a guy like Pete Mena, and like Pete's so crazy, like to have those guys kind of just like lighten the mood. Because like, dude, sometimes I like to get serious and like really geek out about tackle and not shut up for like a while. And like, I'm afraid other people around me, like I have a little paranoia that they're like, oh my God, is Joe ever going to shut up? Like, so to have like Pete there, I think it would really like loosen things up. Like, I think it'd make for a well-rounded like steak dinner. So
heck yeah.
That's what I'd go with.
I like
Bomb 3, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Deacon, boys, is there anything else that we should mention to the folks before we sign off here?
No, man. I appreciate you coming on, Joe, and glad we could do this, guys.
Heck yeah. Well, folks, Monday night we're looking at getting on Mr. Jacob Fouts, who just qualified to the Elite Series through the Centrals. Well, Jacob will be on Monday Night Live, but we also it'll either happen this Monday or potentially for Friday's episode. It's funny, you were just talking about him, Joe, is Mr. Chris Zaldane might be joining us for Monday Night Live. So we'll keep you guys updated. Obviously, you guys will get the notifications this weekend through social if you guys keep up. If Zaldane shall join us, but one way or another, Zaldane shall be joining us in the next couple weeks, getting some off-season guys in here when they're not too busy. And
gotta get that dirty trash stash on camera.
That's a fact. But boys, appreciate you guys taking the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you both.